Hey, welcome back to Tuesday afternoon.
Hi everybody, it's Tuesday and welcome back. And today we're making a very large Poppy doll from Poppy Playtime. We're going to start with a ball of aluminum foil. I'm going to cover that in original Sculpting. And then I'm going to make a hole in the bottom and I'm going to put it up on this pedestal just so you can see it easier. Make sure that when you make the foil that it is very tightly compact. We're going to make 2 indents where you want the eyes to go, and here I'm going to add on the cheek area. Right now I'm just trying to get an idea of the face and if I like the size of it and what it's going to look like. I want to make sure her face is perfectly correct, and I'm kind of mapping out the areas where all the features are going to be. Here I'm adding in where her chin is. Just remember that her face, her chin line is very important. Her shape of her face is very important. So just pay extra attention to those areas. Her nose is has a ball shape on the end. And right here, if you want, you can go ahead and sculpt the eyes. And I'm just going to show you how to do that if you just want the eye sculpted in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this area and I'm going to take all the foil out of the back of the head and I'm going to inset some eyes. So you can do it like this if you want, and I wanted to show how you could do it, but I'm going to remove this area. Next here, I'm just marking out where her mouth goes, and I'm going to add her lower lip and then the upper lip and the area that kind of bulges out under the nose. Just you want her profile to have a nice shape and you want it to look like the character model. It might be a great idea if you pulled up some examples on your phone or your device and you looked at that while you were sculpting. Sometimes we can miss very small details, and later on, if you don't have the opportunity to fix it, it's going to really bother you. So just as you're making it, make sure that you are looking at the character model or the game. Next, we're going to add her nose holes and the little sides of her nose. And I just put a little ball of clay and I just smooth it onto her face. Another great idea, I was going to do this, but I decided I liked her like this, but you always could leave a little gapped area and you could put some teeth in. If you're going to remove the foil, just inset some teeth on the inside. I want her head to look like the doll, so we're going to make her head so it can swivel easily. And I'm just going to put some foil, but you want to have a lot of polymer clay on, a generous amount of polymer clay on the neck because it is going to support the rest of the head, and also you want it weighted so the top of the head isn't heavier than the bottom of the head. That area is going to be taking a lot of stress, so you want a little bit more clay on that area. Don't forget to add the ears, very easy to sculpt, and just make sure your edges look very nice because her hair is up, so you're going to see the back of the head. Go ahead and make a hole in the back of the head also. So if you're going to remove that foil, you don't have to worry about cutting that area out because it can kind of be hard to cut through polymer clay. So just pre-cut it before you put it in the oven. Just follow the instructions for the size of your piece on the back of the polymer clay. And then after it's all done, let it cool off and sand it so you have a nice surface. I rolled out a piece of polymer clay. I'm going to go in through the back of the head and press it into the eye socket. Just make sure it looks nice how you want it to look. And then I'm going to go ahead and smooth the edges out. As you're smoothing it, you might want to hold the back of the eye just to keep it in place. You can always use some rubbing alcohol to give it a nice smooth surface. Don't forget to reinforce the eye on the inside. It's going to get hot in the oven, so you don't want the eye shifting around and you don't want it to fall out. So just enforce the eye. Next, we're going to make the hands, and remember, when you're making these hands, they're going to be small. It's not going to feel right, but if you look at the character model, she has very small hands and very small feet. And her body is very small too, very large head. So just go ahead and make the hands small. And then I just went ahead and just pulled the clay out. This is how I've always made hands. You can add each individual finger, or you can have an armature on the hand area, but this is how I make them. Remember, when you're making the hands, put a little bit of movement in the hands, like she was in motion, If you look at her, she's always had a finger kind of raised up just a little bit, and that's a great little detail to add. Next, I'm going to cut the forearm to the length I want, and then I'm going to put a hole in for the wire. Next, we're going to make her shoes, just a very easy shape, and you're going to want to make some of her leg. Just make sure you make enough of it, because we can't really go back and redo it, add more to it. So you want to get it right the first time, or you're just going to have to remake her leg. You want to put a hole in the top for the wiring to go into, because she is going to be posable. And next, we're going to make her torso. Just some tightly packed aluminum foil, cover in polymer clay. And if you made her neck how I made it, you're going to want to have kind of an area where the neck will fit down into, so it swivels nicely and it also catches the neck at certain points. I'm going to put a hole in where it dips down, because I'm going to secure that with wire, and it's going to hold the head into place. It's going to look really fantastic. Don't forget to add the holes where her arms go and where her legs go. After you put it in the oven, we're going to be ready to paint it. And what I did was I went ahead and put the hands, feet, and the torso in the oven all together. I want her to look like a toy, so I went ahead and painted all her limbs white. I painted the eyes. I started with a very thin layer of red paint. Of course, the eye was already painted white. And I'm just going to kind of tap out the red areas so she has some redness, and then I'm going to pull in some vein work. Now, you could have added a little bit of blue if you wanted to, but I want her to kind of have a spooky look to her. Since she does have that kind of porcelain doll look to her, this is going to look very, very slightly, let's say, unnerving when it's all done. I'm going to go ahead and work in the vein work, just very small spidery veins, and then we're going to start the foundation for her eyes. I'm going to use a dark blue color, and I want her eyes to look like they're almost glowing. You can, if you want, do a very realistic eye, but I think this will look fantastic, because there are parts in the game where her eyes look like this, and this is very striking. I always notice this in the game, so I wanted to recreate this. I went ahead, and after the dark paint dried, I'm going to add a light blue end, and I'm going to take another brush and just kind of blend the blue colors together like this. And after the blue dries, I'm going to add in her pupil and the outline around the iris. I'm going to use black. So it's going to be very, very spooky looking. Next, after that's all dried, I blended the black paint out a little bit. Take some chalk pastel. I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife and kind of make it into a powder. I'm going to put it on my brush, and I'm going to blend it around the iris so it blends out into the eye. I'm also going to do the same where the pupil is. And once this, make sure everything is dry, you're going to want to seal the eyes with urethane polyurethane. I use this because it doesn't become sticky with time. If you use varnish, sometimes it will become sticky with polymer clay. It doesn't always happen immediately, but it will happen eventually with some brands. So that's why I use urethane polyurethane. I've showed it in my other videos, and it's always worked for me. I'm going to also blush the cheeks. Just take some chalk pastel and shave off some of it onto a tray and blush it out. And I'm going to add her freckles, and I'm going to seal her whole head. I'm going to seal the whole thing because if you remember Poppy, her head is very shiny, so we want her to look like a doll. Next, we're going to make the posable part of her limbs, and I'm just going to put some safety goggles on or some kind of eye protection, cut the wire to the correct length, and we're going to go ahead and secure it onto the torso. I'm just going to insert some hot glue into the hole and push the wire in. I went ahead and made sure that the arms were the correct length, so I could go ahead and set the hand on, and then I cut it again to the correct length. I'm going to hot glue that on, and then you're going to want to do that with the legs also. I'm going to take some stuffing and I'm going to glue it on to the torso and then wrap it around the wire and then glue it on the end where it goes, just on the inside, not onto the top of where her hand is. Next, I'm going to cover this in some t-shirt material or a very stretchy material. Don't use the t-shirt that you wear, okay? It's not my fault. And next, I'm going to just go ahead and hot glue that on. No one's going to see this, so don't really worry about it. It's the same thing with when you were sculpting her torso. This area is going to be covered, so you're not going to have to worry about it. No one's going to be able to see it, so don't sweat it. If there's a little bit of hot glue that isn't under your material, no one's going to see it. No one's going to know it's there. And this is how I made the neck. I'm going to have a little loop at the top, and that's going to keep the head on. And then I'm going to twist the wire together. I'm going to secure the wire into the torso like this. I'm going to make sure that it's the correct length. And then I'm going to cover this with stuffing. I'm going to glue it on because we want it to fit snugly. And I'm going to just wrap it around, and you can glue it into place, but also if you want, you can cover that in material, or you could wrap some thread around it just to keep it in place. Add some eyelashes. Just go ahead and go buy some fake eyelashes and super glue them on. It looks really neat and makes it look like Poppy. Her outfit was really simple to make. I just painted the material and I glued it and sewed it into place. She's a display piece, so I just went off of that, and I think it turned out pretty good. After I got everything done, everything's finished, everything's done, I went ahead and put her hair on because I really didn't want her head rolling around and her style of her hair getting messed up. And I used synthetic red hair, and I think it turned out pretty great. What do you guys think? This video has been moving rather quickly, but I wanted to tell you that I am fine. I do have a burn on the top of my hand, but it has healed and it is gone. So no worries, my friends. It is okay. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I appreciate the support so much. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.